good to be alone, he was including himself. And he was actually telling us why he created the world. Why? It's not good to be alone. Let's understand that. Wouldn't it actually be perfect if you didn't need anybody? Wouldn't it be perfect if you could manage on your own? You don't need anybody's help. You don't need anybody's support. You're totally independent and totally self sufficient. It's wonderful. You don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to check with anybody. You're a free agent. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? People think it's not good to be alone because you're not so good at stuff. It's not good for a man to be alone. He doesn't know how to make rice. He wrecks the rice. It's not good for women to be alone. They don't know how to parallel park. That's not the issue. Even the fact that you can't have children alone, that's not the problem. See, God didn't say, I got to create a woman because otherwise, how are they going to have children? God said it's not good to be alone. He didn't say it's not practical or workable. He said it's not good. And he was including himself. So what does this mean? He is perfect. He doesn't need any help frying an egg or making rice or parallel parking. He's perfect. He's all-knowing, all-powerful, almighty, eternal, infinite. Why would he need anybody? And yet God says of himself, it's not good to be alone. Why? What's missing? This is a mystery for many, many people. We feel the pain of being alone. We don't really understand it. What's so terrible? You're capable, you're managing, you got everything under control. Why are you suffering? What is this alone allergy? Why can't you just be content with your many talents and your many abilities and your independence? What's wrong? And it's not, oh, I have nobody to talk to. You can find somebody to talk to. If we understand it properly, God is saying, look at me. Look at me. I am God. I am the perfection of perfection. I am missing nothing. I have everything. And I'm not good by myself. Why? What's not good? So if we think about it, suppose a person was really perfect, independent, self-sufficient, needed nothing, and therefore needed help from no one. That's pretty perfect. But what's good about it? The word good has a specific meaning. It's not good to be alone. Doesn't say it's not perfect. You can be completely perfect and almighty and all knowing. But what's good about that? What's good about that? A man likes to think of himself as perfect. I am perfect. I don't need anybody. What's good about that? Where's the goodness? Yes, you're very capable. Impressive. I'm in awe of how capable you are. But then what? So, what's good about that? There's no goodness. Multi talented, yes. Goodness? Goodness cannot exist when you're alone because being good to yourself doesn't mean anything. It's not goodness. It's like talking to yourself. That's not called communicating. So God is saying, I'm going to create the world because there's nothing good about being a perfect God by yourself. Now, what exactly is this goodness that is missing? We don't know. It's a divine mystery, which means if you feel uncomfortable being alone, it's because you have similar sensitivities to God Himself. Why are people so uncomfortable being alone? Because we are created God-like. We are created in His image. And for whatever reason, God does not accept or tolerate being alone, neither can we. So if you're looking for a godly quality in a human being, this is it. The fact that a human being can't stand being alone, that's the godly soul. That's the godly side of a human being. Which means if you were only human, you would be thrilled to be alone. Have an island of your own. Nobody is allowed on that island. It's just you taking care of yourself and enjoying life. Oh, that would be so perfect if you were human. But if you have a godly instinct, if you have some godly feelings, then you feel like God does. Just me, just me, perfect little me, not enough. Not enough. So there is something so beautiful, so awesome. What is it that one human being feels the need is hurt by the absence of another human being? Why does one human being need another human being? This is godly. This is divine. It's heavenly. So we should all take it as a great compliment to the human condition when we feel a lack of contentment because we are alone. The egotist is not bothered. When he's alone, he feels the most comfortable because the existence of others actually makes him uncomfortable. This is my town. What are you doing here? This is my house. What are you doing here? This is my business. This is my money. This is my room. What are you doing here? This is where families, sadly, tragically, members of a family are torn apart. Brothers and sisters don't talk to each other for 20 years over some argument, over some disagreement. That is so sad. And it's so painful. People say, yeah, I got used to it. I have forgotten all about my sister. We haven't talked in years. That may be. But what have you gotten comfortable with? A hole in your heart. In the heart, it hurts. You can block out the hurt. You can forget that it hurts. You can get so used to the pain that you don't notice it anymore. But when a family breaks up, when children don't talk to their parents, when siblings don't talk to each other, when husband and wife irritate each other, there's a hole in the heart. And that's never good. So, what causes that? There's this friction. My human side wants independence. Your existence disturbs me because this is my world. This is my life. What are you doing here? So, unless you're here to enhance my life, then you're the enemy. You're competition. You're encroaching and trespassing on my space. And I can't take it. You threaten my ego. But that's only the human side. The godly side of us hungers for the presence of another human being who is not me. And only when that person is present is life good. Without that, life can be perfect. Perfect is not good. Like a perfect statue is not God. It's an idol. And if you worship it, you're going to be disappointed because there's no goodness in it. So, what do we need to do? First of all, don't fight the need for another human being as if it were a weakness that you have to overcome. It's not a weakness, it's a divine feature added to the human being so that we're a little more than just human. We have a godly side. And my godly side says, I'm great, I'm capable, I'm perfect, but just me? No, there's got to be somebody else. And that's why at the beginning of the Seder, before we even start the whole procedure, we make an invitation. Anyone hungry, come and join. Anyone who needs to participate in a Pesach Seder, come and join. So the first thing we say is, the godly side of me is not frightened or made uncomfortable by the presence of others. It welcomes the presence of others. That's godly. So here's the definition of what home really means. Home means I am not alone because there is someone else in my life. Now, that someone else may be God Himself. But what does home feel like? When you're home, you are where you belong, not where you happen to be. Most of the time, we find ourselves wherever we happen to be, not where we are supposed to be, not where we belong. The only place where you feel like you are where you belong is home. When the Rebbe started the outreach program The centers that were set up all over the world, in every country and in every state of the United States, is called a Chabad house. Not a synagogue, not a meeting place, not a Jewish center, a Chabad house. And the Rebbe explained what the meaning of that is. A house is not a place you can be, it's a place where you belong. If you don't feel like you belong, then it's not a house. Then it's a business place, it's a meeting place, it's a center. So the first thing is home means where I belong. What do you do at home? Exactly what a person is supposed to do. Your career, your job, your travels, they are what they are, but they could be something else. You could have had a different career. You can change your career. You can travel someplace else. You don't go to the same place twice, unless it's really nice. But what you do at home, that's what you're supposed to be doing. So you are where you belong, where you're supposed to be, and you're doing what you're supposed to do. Be part of a family. And with whom are you doing this? With the person you're meant to be with. So here's where you are meant to be. This is what you're meant to be doing, and this is who you are meant to do it with. That is as close to heaven as you can get. Because everything else is so uncertain, particularly this year, this past year. So uncertain about everything. Doubts, questions, confusion. The uncertainty is painful. The only thing that we know for sure is our family, our home, where we belong. So to put it in different words, when you're home, where you belong, there's no place else you'd rather be. What you do at home, there's nothing else you'd rather be doing. And who are you doing it with? Your family, and there's no one else you'd rather be with. If there's no place else you'd rather be, and nothing else you'd rather be doing, and no one else you would rather be with, you are definitely in heaven. And that's why, if you come home and it doesn't feel like you belong, you do what a family does, and it doesn't feel like this is what you should be doing. And you're with your family, but they're not comfortable with each other, and they don't feel like there's no one else they'd rather be with. That doesn't mean find another place. It means you were denied heaven. And what is the opposite of heaven? So that's what happens during a holiday. You're free from all other activities. You're free to be where you belong and do what you're supposed to be doing with the people you're supposed to be with. So then the question is, well, what if you don't feel comfortable at home? What if coming home does not feel so welcoming? What if the place where you live is the source of all your stress? And you'd rather be almost anywhere else, just not there. Well, here's the secret. Feelings are just feelings. They're flexible, they're changeable, they're fickle. So if you are home where you belong, but you don't feel the way you're supposed to feel, it's not the place that is wrong. You're in the right place. The feeling needs to be adjusted, but there is no other place. And if you're doing what you're supposed to do in your family, it's not what you're doing that is wrong. Why doesn't it feel right? The feeling is wrong. And if the person you're doing it with doesn't feel right or comfortable, it's not the person. You are in heaven and it doesn't feel like heaven. So don't go anyplace else. Fix the feelings. And the first step is comfort yourself and reassure yourself. You're not in the wrong place. You're not doing the wrong thing, and you're not with the wrong person. All the facts of your life are correct. Now bring the right feelings to those facts. For many, many people, I'm sure you know this corona lockdown has actually brought us to that conclusion. When we stop thinking, where else can I go? What else should I do? Who else should I be with? There was no place to go. There was nothing else to do. And there was no one else to be with. So you kind of settle down. You say, okay, I'm stuck in my house with my family doing family things. And it turns out it does feel good, better than good. It feels heavenly. For many people, that was the result. So, as a rule, the lockdown has made us healthier, wiser, more mature, and happier people. If that didn't happen yet, now's the time. Thank God for all the facts of your life, and then bring the right feelings to those facts. The right feeling is my home is not a mistake, my family is not a mistake, and doing what we do for our family is never a mistake. It's amazing what that does to the atmosphere in the home. Let's take the rest of the time for some questions so that we can communicate and get more specific to the issues that you're dealing with.
So again, if you have questions, you can shout it out or just text it to 514-979-6744. If any questions, go ahead and text it to 514-979-6744 and I will read them out loud. Okay, hold on a second. I have a question here that just came in. Okay, I have a question that just came in. How do I deal with the disappointment that I feel towards my child?
The conventional wisdom is, if there's friction between you and your adult child, you need communication, you need intervention, you need a solution. And that's all correct. But before you even get to that, Do you realize how fatherly or motherly you are feeling towards this child? We focus on what's missing, on the painful part. But let's start at the beginning. The beginning is this is your child. You are the mother or the father. And you're feeling like a father and you're feeling like a mother. And that's why it hurts. So it's not like you're less of a mother or less of a father when you're not communicating with one of your kids. You're more, not less. Let's assume that the same is true for the children, although not to the same. Let's assume that the child who cannot talk to his parents is feeling the same thing. The son is feeling so much like a son that it hurts that he can't talk to his parents. Let's assume that. He's not being malicious. He's not being nasty. He's hurting, just like you are. Because family is family and you can't fool Mother Nature. So if you're hurting, he's hurting too. Establish that very clearly in your mind. So even before you talk to each other, before you patch anything up, you have a child. You are a parent. And that child is yours, no less because of the years that you haven't talked. Now you can proceed from a place of strength. You're not a damaged father, and your son is not a damaged son. There's just a little pipeline that has been interrupted between you. So it's only a technicality that needs to be fixed, not the relationship. Of course, the same is true between a Jew and God. A Jew who has been alienated, who has drifted away, who hasn't thought of himself as a Jew in a long, long time, and certainly hasn't thought about God in a long, long time, do they need to create a relationship? Do they need to get into a relationship? No. They are already related. They can't get any more related than they are. God is the God of Israel. That's his identity. And we are his people. That's our identity. The fact that we haven't talked, well, first of all, it's a little his fault, no? He hasn't talked to us. We haven't talked to him.
So speaking of fathers, I have another question here. Someone texted. How do I deal with the fact that how do I deal with the fact for the abuse that I endured in comparison to my other siblings, talking about a father? Or if this person feels that their father was tougher on them than their other siblings.
That may be true. Doesn't change the fact. It's like this teenage girl was very angry at her parents. And she said, particularly her mother, and she said, I am not going to let my mother ruin my life. And so she left home and she acted out, rejected everything her mother believes in or stands for, hates everything about her mother, criticizes her mother publicly, and so on. She says, I am not going to let my mother ruin my life. I said, I'm so sorry to tell you. She has ruined your life because you're not her daughter anymore. That's your life that was ruined.
Mm.
You're complaining that she's not a good mother. That may be true, but you don't want her to ruin your life, and you're not going to let her ruin your life. So don't let her make you any less of a daughter. An unhealthy mother and an unhealthy daughter, that's not a good combination. So if you can help it, you remain a good daughter, no matter what your mother does. That's you. That's your life. And that's what the Torah means. Honor your father and mother, even though they're not honoring you. Their failure doesn't have to be your failure. So I said to this girl, I said, you know what would really be a good rebellion? Don't let your mother ruin your life. You treat her like a mother, whether she deserves it or not. How's that for a rebellion? Standing up for yourself.
Another question from the perspective of a parent. I have two children that always seem to be in, hold on, another 6 is coming in. I have two children that always seem to be at loggerheads with each other. What should I do? I guess tension between siblings.
Well, you
and the parents' involvement instead of, oh, this is an adult children.
Right. You definitely don't take sides. That should, shouldn't even have to say that. You definitely do not take sides, no matter what you think. Even if you're absolutely convinced that one of the two is definitely wrong and it's their fault and so on, that's not your job. Your job is to say, this is your only family. Is there anything more important? What could be so important that you're willing to give up a sibling, a brother, a sister? What could be so important? There's nothing. So reach out. Advise each of your children. Be the one to reach out. Put a stop to it. You can. Anyone. See, it's never like, there's nothing I can do. It's my brother's move. Unless he does something, it's never going to get good. Don't victimize yourself. You're not a victim. You can fix it just as easily as he can fix it. And if you fix it, he gets fixed too. So there's nothing that a little brotherly feeling can't patch up. And you have the feeling, you're just not using it. So put aside whatever it is that was once so important and painful. You're older now, you're wiser now. You look back at it with wise eyes. It's not as terrible. It's not as unthinkable. It's human silliness, human pettiness. Shouldn't impress you that much.
Okay, another question that came in now. Someone says that they have a parent that has Jewish heritage, but the parent denies it. How should they deal with it?
The parent denies being Jewish?
Yeah, because of persecution from World War II, I guess grandparents that were hiding their Jewishness. How to deal with it?
Well, first of all, you must respect that.
Mm.
You can't be critical of that. Who is to say that if you were in that position, you wouldn't have done exactly the same thing? So thank God you were not in that position. But that doesn't mean you should be critical of those who were. Fact is that by denying that he was Jewish, your father actually survived, or your mother. And the result is you were born.
Mm.
How bad is that? How wrong can that be? So thank your father or your mother for doing whatever they had to do to survive so that they can have a Jewish family, whether they feel Jewish or not. That's the result of trauma, of war, of Hitler, of Holocaust, of of the world going into hell. So that's like an interference with your father's identity, not his actual identity. So thank him for what he did and show gratitude because they deserve it.
Rabbi Friedman, from the answers that you're giving, I'm hearing a certain theme that kind of goes through all of them, which is that when you feel that there might be a conflict or there's a sense of conflict, instead of projecting onto the other what is, let's say, wrong or what they haven't done for you, think about your end and what you could do to make it right. Is that a fair assumption? Or
that's a big part of it, but also the criticism can't be so stark, so one-sided, or one monochrome. But denying that he's Jewish is a terrible thing your father's doing. But that's only half the story. The other half is you exist because of that. You get to be a proud Jew because of that. So don't knock it.
Okay, anyone have any other questions? 514-979-6744, or just raise your hand and I can unmute you if you want, if you're bold enough to kind of just come on out. Otherwise, you could just do it through the phone. Another question coming in. Hold on a second. No, it's a comment. Anyone else? Okay, so I guess it's a wrap. Thank you, Rabbi Friedman. And if you have any closing words on this topic of the oi and the joy of family, and navigating this disappointments, and also the beauty of coming together. If you have any final words, and if anyone has any questions, just kind of wave or something so I can see you, so you can wave if you have any last questions. Otherwise, we'll let Rabbi Friedman close. Rabbi Friedman?
I got to tell you this amazing little incident.
Okay.
There was a man in Minnesota who wrote to the Rebbe that he read the Rebbe's talk about the importance of joy. But he can't follow that advice because he says, I have been so bad. I am so bad. How can I be happy? The Rebbe writes to him about the importance of happiness. Happiness is a choice. Serve God with being happy. And just the happiness itself gives God pleasure. The man writes back to the Rebbe almost these words: Rebbe, if you knew how bad I was, you wouldn't tell me to be happy. The Rebbe's answer was, this is incredible. The Rebbe writes back and says, I am doubtful whether you know how bad you are. And I'm still telling you to be happy. That is so amazing. No matter how bad you are, and you're probably worse than you think, because we're all probably worse than we think. And yet, there is no excuse. We are guests in God's world, and if you're happy to be here, you're a welcome guest. It doesn't matter how good you are. The question is, how much good can you accomplish? What is it that God needs from you? Not how good are you. Because no place does God say, be nice, be good, be perfect, be smart. He says, if you see a hungry person, feed him. Does that make you a wonderful human being? I don't know. That's not the objective. Stop keeping score. I did 2 good things, 10 good things. Anytime you have 5 minutes and you can do something good, do it. Yeah, but I'm a bad person. Well, all the more reason. Who should do good more than a person who is not good, right? So a person said, Rebbe, I'm so bad. And the Rebbe's answer is, be good. Who's stopping you? In other words, people feel that if they are sinful, if they misbehave, if they cause some damage or some pain, they're beyond hope. What they do from now on doesn't matter anymore. They're doomed. That is so not Jewish. It's so not Jewish. It reminds me of other religions.
Mm.
In Judaism, God gave us a smorgasbord of mitzvahs, a great big selection. And God says every morning when you get up, pick a mitzvah, pick a mitzvah, any mitzvah, and you will make my day. Are you good or bad? Hey, this is not a shidduch where I have to check your pedigree or something. Today you can do something for me. And if you do, I'll be forever indebted to you. So there's nothing greater that we can do than to do something for him. It's not a contest.
Okay,
It's not all or nothing.
One more question that came in now. What do you do when you disagree with your parents' opinion rather, and you think that they're messing up with the other siblings? So you think that your parents are not parenting properly, I guess is the question. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They're probably not. There are no perfect parents. We are human, and we are given superhuman tasks. And God knows this. And yet, he tells us to become parents. He tells us to become teachers and influencers. And look at us. What right does any of us have to preach to others? And yet God says, go, do it. If you know something good or smart, say it. Whether you live up to it or not. Like the Rebbe asked a boy who was going back to campus after spending some time in Crown Heights. The Rebbe said to him, when you get back to campus, remind all your friends to put on tefillin. And he said, but Rebbe, I don't put on tefillin. And the Rebbe said, we're not talking about you now. The fact that you don't put on tefillin is not their fault. So why shouldn't they put on tefillin?
I think the question that this person is trying to articulate is that they worry that their parents are doing things that are hurting their siblings. Maybe they feel that their parents are behaving in a way that is harmful to the siblings. What should they do in that case?
And it's probably true. So what should the son do? What should the daughter do?
What should they do? Because they feel that perhaps they have a responsibility to younger siblings or other siblings where they see damage that is potentially being inflicted on them.
No, if it's physical abuse, then of course you have to intervene. But if it's not physical, it's just difference of opinion, of style, of temperament. You don't have to break up the family. You have to bring wisdom to your siblings so that they know what they should do, the goodness that they can accomplish. And the fact that the parents are not the best parents, God knows that. And knows that you can accomplish a lot of good without wisdom from your parents. Don't become so one-dimensional. Either I get my parents' love or I'm lost. No, you're not lost.
I guess the what you're saying is that the child is more resilient than they think, because I guess they're concerned that I don't know the age of this person asking, but if there's siblings, it seems that there's still siblings at home.
Well, then they certainly need some good advice from the healthy people in the family. But don't make it all or nothing. And that's part of what psychologists need to say. Yes, you need some help. Yes, I'll give you some therapy, I'll give you some counseling, but don't act as if your whole life has been destroyed because you didn't get enough affection or advice from your mother. A lot of people don't have a mother, but they have a life.
And by extension, I guess what you're saying could be applied to don't think your life is messed up, because your close relative or relative disappointed you, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, don't see yourself through the lens of what is happening to you, but rather like give yourself agency to create what what you would like to have in terms of
Take it as
your own identity.
yes, take it as a compliment from God that you don't need all the support that anyone can possibly get from parents and family and home. You can do without.
Right. So I have to say that, obviously I'm not in a position to address something like that. I'm reading. I happen to be very blessed to have a very loving parents who are my role models. So it actually shapes me and continues to shape me. Shaped me in the past and continues to shape me. Thank God. So I guess this would be a tall order. But what you're saying is that if someone is found, find themselves in a situation where for whatever reason their parents are not the parents that they would have liked to have or need to have, that this is God basically telling them that they have the strength to overcome. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. God does not cripple you by giving you parents who are not the wisest or the smartest. Or you can.
And someone's asking now, where can they find more about this to install this type of wisdom in their life? So I'm just going to answer that question. For Rabbi Friedman, you can check him out on YouTube. As I mentioned before, he's the most watched rabbi on YouTube, and Rabbi Friedman has a tremendous amount of wisdom on all sorts of topics. And from, I guess, teaching us the Torah's perspective, especially the perspective of Chabad Hasidus. But I'm letting you answer that question as well. I took that opportunity to.
Thank you.
Yeah, someone's raising their hand. Annie, you're raising your hand. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you. Just allow yourself to be unmuted and go for it.
Okay. I have a question maybe affecting many people. Although my husband and I are working hard to prepare the house for Pesach, as not in the past 70 years, we're having Pesach alone together, but not with children, grandchildren, parents, siblings. So last year it was a novelty. It was a big novelty last year to find ourselves alone, and it was fine. This year it's not as fine, and we were looking for a way to make Pesach more exciting or more to feel more like what we're used to, just to make the holiday more besimcha. What could we do? What could we do? We're cleaning, we're cooking, but we don't have that simcha feeling of expecting our children and grandchildren.
So
great question. Thank you, Annie. That was a great question.
Generally, in normal years, God understands that in order for us to enjoy a Yom Tov, to enjoy holy days, we need a little boost. The kids come, you make special food, you buy new clothes, you get some new jewelry. These are all ways in which to boost your good mood. This year, as last year, God is trying to say, the Yom Tov is going to be wonderful if it's just you. It's going to be a holy day. It's going to be a special day. It'll be meaningful as ever, and you need no boosts. You don't need a rabbi, you don't need a community, you don't need a table full of guests to make it exciting and meaningful. And it helps to consider who comes to your Seder every year. Your father and your mother who are in heaven. When you ask the 4 questions, know that they just came from heaven to hear you ask those questions. Because you always ask your parents, right? They're there. As hard as it is for them to come back to this lowly world, they come back. So you're not without guests. Eliyahu, the prophet, comes to every Seder.
So we have the inverse question now. That just came up. What is the obligation of a grandparent towards a disrespectful grandchild?
The only obligation is to pamper your grandchildren. It's not your job to raise them, correct them, police their behavior. Your job is to be thrilled to be their grandparent and show it. The grandchild will become better. But don't fight it. You're too old for that. At your age, being a grandparent, there's only one thing you need to do is take pleasure in your grandchildren. Just the fact that you have them, the fact that they're smart, the fact that they're capable, the fact that they're healthy, and the fact that the kid's a little nasty, he'll grow up. He'll grow up.
Okay, someone's asking the question, but I'm going to just read it, but I think, Rabbi Friedman, you addressed it. The question is, how can an abusive relationship be said to be just that? The abused party needs to change her feelings and see that there's nothing wrong and just feel good so that everything will be good. Just to be to clarify, I did hear Rabbi Friedman say clearly that if there is abuse, that the person should seek help. I think he's talking about anything that falls within the realm of what you think is not perfect parenting. And he said no one is a perfect parent. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm characterizing it properly.
Yes. If there is criminal behavior involved, then this is not a discussion. There's nothing to discuss. You get intervention. You put a stop to the behavior. If you have to leave, if you have to call the authorities, if you have to, whatever it is you need to do. But we're not talking about criminal behavior, hopefully. We're talking about the ordinary common discomforts and frictions that exist in otherwise healthy families. And the solution is go for the good. Don't fight the darkness. Find the good, emphasize the good, cultivate the good, and certainly don't let it make you bad.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Any other questions, comments? Your feedback is welcome. This is a one-of-a-kind opportunity to speak with Rabbi Friedman, who is really a world-renowned thinker. And as I said, he does turn conventional wisdom on its head. Often we hear a certain narrative that is kind of the zeitgeist, and Rabbi Friedman makes us rethink, what seemingly is obvious, and makes us take a different step back. Rabbi Friedman, I want to share that I heard something this week that you shared on a class that you were giving, and you were talking about the simple son, and that the simple son really is kind of the best son, unconventionally. And I think we can close with some of that, because I think what you're asking us, essentially, if I could paraphrase you, is to be that simple son in the sense of focusing on ourselves and not what we have to know, or do, etc. So if you can, I thought it was just a very unconventional thought. The idea of the simple sun somehow being a sun that we have overlooked a little bit. And if you can close with that, that would be great.
Conventional thinking is that the smart son is the hero. We're very proud of the smart son because he's so smart. But if we think a little deeper, smart is not everything. And sometimes a little too smart is no good. Too smart for your own good, right? So which of the sons is really the greatest nachas? The greatest nachas is the simple son. What does the simple son ask? What's this? What's this? Those are the best questions. He's not challenging, he's not cynical, he's not sarcastic, he's not jaded. He just wants to know, what? What's the mitzvah today? What is the holiday? Tell me and I'll do it. Just tell me what's what. And that would make it so healthy, both for the smart son and the wicked son. They're too complicated. They're missing that simplicity that the simple son has. Both the smart son and the wicked son don't have a happy life.
Mm.
One is full of questions and the other one is full of objections.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's happy. The simple son says, stop complicating everything. You're Jewish? Yes. This is a mitzvah? Yes. A mitzvah is a Jewish thing to do? Yes. So 2 and 2 is 4. You're Jewish and this is a Jewish thing to do. Let's do it. So at the Seder, the simple son says, what's this? You say, that's the matzah that we eat. Oh, okay. When do we eat it? And what's that? Oh, those are the bitter herbs. What do we do with that? We eat that too. Okay. When do we eat it? Just tell me what's what. I'm not that complicated. I want to know what's what today of all times in history. We don't know what's what. It's not that we're not smart. We're too smart. We know too much. We've got too much input. We've got information coming from every direction. We don't know what to do with it. The simple son says, don't let it confuse you. A Jew is a Jew. A male is a male. A female is female. Don't get crazy. A mitzvah is a mitzvah. A holiday is a holiday. Keep it simple. Just tell me what it is. We will outlast this mishigas. We will outlast this crazy confusion, and we will be healthier than before. But keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Those are 3 great words of wisdom. Thank you, Rabbi Friedman, for taking out of your time. I know that you have another class that you're about to begin very shortly, and we do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to address us on this Sunday, the Sunday before Pesach. Hopefully, everyone received a little bit of inspiration. I just want to share with you, for those who need that extra love, if you need matzah, if you need a Seder to go, if you need even a food box because you're shut in and you can't shop, please let us know at Chabad, info@chabadwestmount.com, and somebody will get you the matzah, the Seder to go, the food box. So if you're feeling alone and you're not with other people that you do love, let this be a reminder that you're not alone. We're part of a Jewish people. The Jewish people are a family, and Jewish people are responsible for each other. Kol Yisrael arevim ze lezeh. We are all one family. We are responsible for each other. And so you're not alone, even though you are maybe, you may feel alone, but you're not alone. And we are here for you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email again, info@chabadwestmount.com. And we will have all of our volunteers get you what you need before Pesach. So thank you very, very much. And if you need a phone call, if you need someone to cheer you up, we have a team of young people, students who are looking to do good during this pandemic and would love to chat with you. So again, if you need some companionship, if you need someone to talk to, if you need some help with the Seder, please reach out to us. I want to wish each and every one of you a very happy and kosher Passover. And I want to take this opportunity again. Thank you, Bobby Friedman, for joining us. And we hope to have you again soon on another topic, on the many, many topics that I guess life throws at us. And until then, everyone stay safe and stay healthy. And Be'ezus Hashem, we should have revealed good in each and every one of our lives and revealed blessing. And hopefully very soon, sooner rather than later, the Geula Shlema with the coming of Mashiach. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a happy Passover and reach out if you need any help. Thank you and Chag Sameach.